following is a paid commercial program paid for by McClure Capital Wealth Management Companies and does not reflect the opinions or advice of KRLD or CBS Radio.
Welcome to the Common Sense Investing, or CSI Show, with Victor McClure and Guy Allard from McClure Capital Wealth Management Companies. For the next hour, Victor and Guy will use their combined 60-plus years of experience to answer your financial questions with their own brand of plain-spoken language and hard-hitting style.
Welcome to the show. I'm Victor McClure. How you doing, Guy?
I'm doing good.
We are hosts of the Common Sense Investing Show. I hope you guys are having a great week. This week has been pretty decent. It's actually been a lot cooler than normal.
Kind of had a cool front, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Stock market keeps going up.
It's hot.
There's no way to stop it. No matter what, the news seems to be entertaining every day. Something new.
Oy vey.
And so we're not really sure if Iran and North Korea are going to ICBM us to death right now. Not really sure.
We tested. China tested. Everyone's testing ICBMs now.
Why are they all pointed at us is what I want to know.
I don't know.
I think Iran, though, points half of them at Israel and the other half at us.
They say Iran gets the information pretty shortly after Korea develops it, right?
Oh, they share it. That's exactly what they do.
Right.
I think they've stopped a couple ships that were going from one to the other to bring them stuff. Like, great.
China stopped a couple, remember, after the meeting with our president, and then that didn't last long.
No. So we don't talk politics here because most people are crazy. I don't want to.
And most people and all politicians, how about that?
That's right.
Are absolutely crazy.
If you want to get somebody wound up, just start talking about politics.
Oh. And religion.
Oh, yeah. All right. Remember our philosophy here at McClure Capital. It always has been, that the stock market is a great place for your money. We just believe the stock market should be utilized after your bills are paid. In other words, let's say I've got $1 million, $3 million, whatever, $10 million, doesn't matter. And I know I need $100,000 a year to live, $200,000 a year, whatever the number is. I'm going to take Social Security, any pensions, and then I'm going to get another guarantee to get it up to that number that I need to comfortably live and maintain my lifestyle through retirement. And then the rest of it, barring except your reserve cash and things like that. The market is a great place because the market was never designed to pay your bills. It's not consistent, repeatable income. I just read an article this week about dividend-paying stocks and how expensive they've got, because after the crisis, a lot of people started going towards dividend-paying stocks. And what they've don't realize is those dividend-paying stocks, PE ratios, are much higher than the overinflated S&P already.
That's right.
So you've got about a 25 price-to-earnings ratio in the S&P 500, which historically has been 14. So it's overvalued there. Well, the dividend-paying stocks are even higher. And remember, they can stop paying dividends. That doesn't mean their company goes out of business.
Or reduce them or lower them. But you're absolutely right. And that's why, we all forget, at least if you're not in the business, the older you get, rule of 100, whatever you want to use, the less money you have at risk in the market. The only difference is everything you hear from everybody that wants to manage your money in the stock market is keep it in the stock market. You couple that and combine that with a stock market that hit 22,000 this week. There's no end in sight, right? Mm-hmm. It makes it difficult to follow what the rules and what you're supposed to do, but don't let that sidetrack you, because that's not the right way to guarantee your retirement.
Also, remember, I wish I could do the news. So look at the news backwards, like in 99, remember the news. Remember people telling me it's never going to go down. Do you think there's going to be more computers next year than this year?
Yeah, what are you, an idiot?
I had people day trading, friends of mine.
Quitting their jobs or thinking about it.
The arrogance, they're like, what did you make for your clients last year, Victor? I said, about 23%. And he goes, oh, have you ever heard of a tech stock? I made 86%, and I've done that 3 years in a row. Yep. Of course, every one of them went broke. And then in the 2007, what do you mean? What do you think? The real estate boom's anything's going to happen to it? Are you crazy? Do you think the stock market? It doesn't matter. There's new things coming out, and that's what they're doing now. It's the same thing. Nope. These earnings are getting better and better. They're factoring in Trump's tax cuts.
Keep on
all
going.
of these things. It's just going to keep on going. There's always a catalyst.
You've got
Always a trigger.
You've got to use and rely on your wisdom, which is what? Knowledge and experience, the crossroads. How many times have you seen the market correct? You've seen it for sure in 2000 and 2008 correct. And there's always been a catalyst, right? There's always been something that's caused it. But prior to that, and I think where you're going to it, one, we didn't know what it was going to be.
That's right.
Until all of a sudden it manifests itself. It's like, oh my goodness, absolutely, we should have known. And what was the other key component, Victor? You and I were talking about it at lunch earlier in the week. People are starting to get giddy right now about the stock market. What'd you tell me? I said, man, these commentators were on, and they were giddy about 22,000, talking about 25,000.
I've been managing people's money in the stock market at Fidelity for years. It's doing great. My own personal funds that I have in the market are doing great. But I always know the party will end. It has to. Nothing goes up forever. You've heard every analogy you want or whatever. But let me give you one thing. The QE, remember QE1, QE2, QE3. That's a quantitative
easing.
Right?
That's right.
Basically, the government's buying bonds.
Putting money
in
the market.
They've accumulated $4.5 trillion in bonds. Just to give you an idea what a ridiculous number that is. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million.
And how many did they have before the QE program?
They had about 800 billion before they started this program, right?
Right.
And that was the total accumulated currency in the United States.
Of all currency.
So they had a total in just the bonds they own, right?
Right.
Well, now they have $4.5 trillion, about 2.7 trillion in government bonds, treasuries, and about 1.8 trillion in mortgage-backed securities. What they're going to do is, this is unprecedented. The government has never got rid of 1 trillion. They have to get rid of before 4.5 trillion. I'll give you an idea. Here are the plans that the Fed is going to do. They're going to sell $6 billion in treasuries and $4 billion in mortgage-backed securities every month, and then raise that amount every 3 months. At that rate, it will take 5 years just to get rid of half of the 4.5 trillion.
And what do you think that's going to do to the market? Is that our catalyst?
Most people don't understand what quantitative easing does or whatever. Everybody else tells you earnings or it moves stocks. Interest rates move this and that. You know what moves things? More buyers than sellers. That's what makes things go up. Now, if earnings are good, there's more people optimistic, and they're going to buy. If they think tax cuts, there's more buyers in the market. It's more buyers than sellers every single time.
And if the market's flat, no one's doing anything. You don't have the volume.
Same thing with bonds. They're buying all the bonds, right? They're creating less of a market. The things go up. And so that's what happened. Now, what happens when they sell all the bonds? Now, it's a weird thing. When you got all this money flowing in, it hurts stocks too.
Yeah.
So they're saying, you could talk to 10 economists and have 10 different things that could happen, but almost all of them agree there's a risk to everything.
Well, think about it this way also. There's a finite amount of money available for purchases. You've got bond inventory here that's going to be sold, right? $4 trillion. You've got stocks. There's inventory there, if you look at it like a warehouse, that are for sale. And if all of this money is buying bonds, what's buying stocks?
They could theoretically, it should cause interest rates to go down, but it couldn't make them go up. But remember, there's a bond bubble. There's another article I read this week that was real interesting about a bond bubble. And it says the dangerous bond bubble is about to pop. So when you own bonds, interest rates going up makes your bonds go down, because we've had a big spike in the last year.
Yeah, we have.
Corporate bonds, like 5-year corporate bonds, were in the like 1% range, 1.5%. They're like 3.5% now. 10-year bonds are up to say 3.8, something like that. There's almost a flat yield curve. Actually, 5 to 10 years is almost the same, which is weird. If you ever get an inverted yield curve, be careful. It's about to bust.
In short terms, we're paying as much as long terms.
Right. That's a.
Yep.
We got a flat yield curve, which is kind of dangerous, because if it becomes where long bonds are paying so much less than short bonds, who the heck would buy a long bond?
Exactly.
I'm going to buy a 5-year bond getting 4. I'm going to buy a 10-year getting 3. That's ridiculous. So what happens? It kills the market. And people don't realize how large the bond market is. The bond market is 1,000 times bigger than the stock market. You just don't realize it. Every time you see a bond price, that's just an estimate. There is no market for bonds. It's whatever someone's willing to pay. They're just estimating based on the yield, maturity, the quality of the bond, what it would be worth. But every statement that you see on what a bond is worth is just an estimate. And so we're going to talk about why our philosophy holds true, whether the market's going up or down, after the break. There are 6 things that have happened in the last 20, 30 years that make it where it's imperative to look or consider our philosophy of guaranteeing an income stream, putting the rest in the stock market. And by the way, somebody came to me this week, said, I didn't know you guys manage money in the stock market. We've been managing money in the stock market longer than anything else.
That's right.
We're talking about
annuities were just added in 95.
Yeah, we just talk about the income streams because it became so important because of these 6 things that we're going to discuss after the break. Don't hesitate to call us if you have any questions at 972-715-2424 or go to ilovemyretirement.com. Again, 972-715-2424 or ilovemyretirement.com. Stay with us, folks. You're listening to the Common Sense Investing Show on News Radio 1080 KRLD.
Welcome to the Common Sense Investing Show, where your investment strategy is always based on facts instead of some sales pitch. Here's Victor McClure and Guy Allard.
Welcome back to the show. Before the break, we're going to show you the 6 reasons why securing an income stream first, then the stock market, instead of the reverse. Why it's so imperative now, okay? The number one thing.
And that's age dependent.
That's right.
I'd say.
Problems with Social Security. Every fix to Social Security that I've seen, some kind of means tested reduction in benefits. And so counting on that is going to be an issue. Number 2, people are living longer. It used to be, remember they started Social Security when the average age was 65 that people died.
I know.
They said, okay, we'll start it at 65.
Yeah. Or 62, you can start your benefits, right?
Right. They figured they're not going to pay long, right? Well, people kept living longer. That made it more imperative. Also, low interest rates. I remember when I was a kid, I said, man, if I ever made $100,000, I'd be rich. Think about it. I'll just save $1 million, live on the 10% CD, and never touch the $1 million means I'll be rich forever. But $1 million ain't exactly what it was back in the day, right?
No, not at all. Unfortunately.
Plus, the interest on $1 million, if you put it in that same CD, is paying 1 or 2%, which is 10 or 20 grand, which doesn't seem nearly as good as 100 grand. We also have number 4, the loss of pensions. 30 years ago, it was like 75% of America had pensions. Now it's like 14%. And almost all those are government workers of some type, police, firemen, stuff like that.
And we forget the advent of 401ks. Originally, when they came out, was to help the high income earners save more, right? And then the employers, the companies realized that they could shift the liability from themselves to the employees because they have their own pensions. So what did they do to the pensions they were offering? Reduced them and eliminated them.
That's
a lot of them.
So also got inflation, especially healthcare inflation. Look what this stuff costs now. I remember you could get a whole family for like $100 and better than the plans we got now. You can always there's no deductibles, copays, what's all that? I got insurance. Now you got a myriad of things. Plus it gets more expensive. Another thing that people are having to deal with when you're in the child raising years, you're having to spend a fortune on college. When I was college age, what was it? $2,000 to $4,000 for a tuition for a year. Books might be $75, $80. Now you're talking about $1,000 for books. A private college might cost you $70,000. Even a public's $20,000, $30,000. Well, when you had to pay that much, you couldn't save as much, and you don't have a pension now, and the cost of everything's gone up, and low interest rates, so you can't make any interest on your money, and you're living longer.
Oh, stop it. You're depressing me. Cut it out.
But on top of that, number 6 is wages haven't kept up to keep up with it. We've had pretty much stagflation in wages for a long time.
Well, now in Washington State, they tried to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
That's right. And everybody just says, okay, you're working 29 hours
That's
this week.
exactly right. And actually,
I'm not gonna pay any benefit.
They started at 13 and haven't even phased it to 15, and the numbers are coming back in. That didn't work.
So those are the reasons. There's so many different things that have happened in our lifetime that's changed the game. And that's why I tell people, I go, hey, stock market's fantastic. I'll always be in the stock market. I'll always manage money people in the stock market. But man, you can't count on that. I want the bills paid. Give me a check every month that's certain lifestyle that I have. And now let's do the stock market in that order. But it's because of those 6 things: problem with Social Security, people living longer, low interest rates, loss of pensions, inflation in health care, college costs. Because my dad used to buy brand new Cadillacs for $7,000. They're a little bit more now, right?
Yep.
God, I was trying to get my wife a new Escalade.
One of the best cars made.
Holy moly! It's $100,000 for an Escalade.
And
Never mind.
keep in mind, a lot of this is age based. If you're in your 30s and 40s, then it's a whole different scenario. You still need to have 60-40, 70-30 split, the smaller percentage in bonds and in safe things and in cash, so that you can have an emergency money. But as you get into your 50s, as soon as you hit 50, from that point on, you really need to take a hard look at guaranteeing your own income in retirement.
God, we've been, we've known each other, been friends for 30-something years, right?
About 90, yeah.
Did we ever think about retirement or 401ks or
in our 30s?
No.
Right now, we calculate it to the penny almost a lot,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How much income am I going to need? Okay, I got how many years? Yeah, you bet. Social Security at 70
and
is
it
so
doesn't
much.
matter. This is what we've done for a living for all
Yeah.
these 30-something years,
That's
right?
right.
It's still youth. You remember you're bulletproof. I used to speed on my car down the tollway like an idiot. Now do I? No, I'm the old guy going slow.
Even with clients, I mean, Victor and I represented the top commodity managed money program in the world, I believe, for years.
Time ago, yeah.
But when we were younger, we were real excited with that. It was a top program, don't get me wrong, and it was for high net worth individuals, and we fully disclosed the risk. But we pushed that and we offered that to our clients. Now, not so much.
See, remember, there are so many reasons why, and that's why somebody said, well, annuities, I don't like annuities. I go, the math of it, of taking a piece of your money and exponentially getting income from it so much higher than you could from a CD or a bond or something, changes your spend down rate. It lowers your spend down rate. Everything in retirement is spend down rate. It's not like when you're gaining the money or trying to grow the money. That was how much growth do I get? Make sure I'm not paying too many fees. Make sure I'm diversified. The distribution phase of your life is 100% different. You cannot manage the money the same way. You have to start thinking of spend down rates, distribution rates. And that's where 90% of people aren't equipped to do that. Even if you've been managing your money for 30 years, you need to hire an expert on the distribution phase if you're getting to that point. Don't hesitate to call us if you have any questions at 972-715-2424. If you'd like to schedule a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with us or just have a few questions, 972-715-2424, or go to ilovemyretirement.com. Stay with us, folks. You're listening to the Common Sense Investing Show on News Radio 1080 KRLD.
Welcome back to the Common Sense Investing Show, hosted by two of the most experienced advisors in the DFW Metroplex, Victor McClure and Guy Allard.
I'm just experienced. Guy's just old.
Uh-oh. There it is. Cross the line. What time is it? Shots fired.
Remember, we developed this show to answer your financial questions. We try to do it with plain spoken language. And so some things you can understand. Sometimes we'll go a little off in tangents talking about numbers.
Politics. Religion.
Yeah, I don't ever take a stand. I swear, these people call me that. Whew,
oh, I know. We've had some.
O.J. Simpson I talked about. I had some horrible calls on that. So I stay away from this stuff. No more new stuff.
You ready for the first question?
Give me the first
Is that
one.
where you're headed?
Yep.
All right. My neighbor has a trust, and he explained that it saves him estate taxes and protects him from losing his money to the government, that dang old government. Should I consider one?
All right. There's a couple of misconceptions about a trust. Trust doesn't save you taxes.
You pay trust taxes, which is usually higher.
You don't put income-producing things in a trust. Here's why. If you make $14,000, I think it's $14,000 or $15,000, you're in the top tax bracket.
In a trust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your personal one, to get in the top tax bracket, you got to make $300-something thousand, right? It's like $14,000 or $15,000 to
You're
be
there.
in the top tax bracket.
Right.
So it's not going to save you taxes. It also does it, and then he's talking about income. He wasn't talking about income tax. The question was about estate taxes. It does not save you estate taxes either. Some people say, I'm not paying estate taxes. Yeah, you are. because now are trusts good for other things? Sure. There's a lot of things trusts are good
Creditor
for.
proof and a few things.
You know, if you've got, let's say you have a handicapped child that needs to be taken care of, or you got a minor child, you're a little bit older, you know, there's things like that works. And it does keep it with the trust. Even if you die, the trust is still alive. So it makes transitions better, and you're actually controlling where these assets go instead of some, you know, trustee or something besides. Well, you'd have a trustee, but some other person from the government or whatever, right? So there's good stuff for it. Just be careful when you're doing trust, because there's something they used to call trust meals, where these attorneys will get together. You know, they're starting out their career, and they think everybody should have a trust. I go, this person has $100,000. Why should they need a trust? You don't.
And we deal with a lot of folks that have trusts, and let me tell you, there's a lot involved to them. You have to, there are X amount of dollars to create them. You've got to constantly review them. You got to assets going in, assets coming out. You've got to make changes. You got to amend the documents. It's not like you pay a little small $500, $1,000 fee and you're done. There's a lot of work to keep them in order, kind of like doing minutes for a corporation.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with a trust.
No.
You can have a trust. If you have enough assets, it's probably a good idea
Real
in many
estate
circumstances.
used in there a lot.
That's right. If you put it in a trust and you got a bunch of real estate thing and somebody slips in the yard, you don't want to come after your personal assets, right? Have the trust on it and stuff like that. Just remember, income being produced in a trust is taxed really bad, because what they're trying to prevent anybody from putting everything in trust and the government doesn't get any money. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. They're not saving you taxes or estate, income tax or estate tax. It's more of a control. I want my stuff to go to a certain way. It doesn't protect the government from taking it as much as tax, because you're still going to pay tax on the value of a trust or whatever. Then you got irrevocable trusts are going to be the most favorable in that area, but they're irrevocable. So and if it's revocable, the government says, well, you can just change your mind anytime, so we're not going to make that as favorable.
That's right.
So that's about that on trust. Just find a really good attorney that's an honest attorney, that's not some seminar or dinner thing you went to. Those guys with the, or estate planning, it has to be done by an attorney, not a financial advisor. Like we do estate planning, but we're just doing the investments for the estate planning, not the actual telling them they need trust and all that kind of stuff. That's attorney that you trust. All right, what's the next question?
All right. Since Social Security is supposed to go broke in 2035, should I plan my retirement without using Social Security?
That would be ideal, right?
Yep.
Most of us can't do that, though.
And Social Security, depending on how much you need, is usually a smaller amount of your income in retirement anyway.
It was originally designed to be like 25% of replacement of working income. Now, realize that for the average person, it's 90%.
That's right.
It's a big number that was never meant to be. But the reason what they're talking about is the Social Security going down in 2035 is right now payroll tax is being collected in. If you're self-employed, you pay like 15%, but 3% of that is Medicare. The rest is Social Security.
Easy for you to say.
If you're employed, your employer's paying that piece, and you're paying, 6.2, I think, in Social Security, another 1.5.
Call it 7.5,
Medicare,
7.5,
right?
yeah.
That is not enough to pay current benefits. And the baby boomers just started retiring. Because remember, I'm the last one, and I've got another, 13 years or whatever to reach retirement age, even though I'm not going to retire. And so they're not enough. So it's being paid now by the $3 trillion fund that's in Social Security. And I'll talk about that more when we return from the break. Stay with us, folks. Don't hesitate to call us, by the way, 972-715-2424. We'll be right back after the break. You're listening to the Common Sense Investing Show on News Radio 1080 KRLD.
Welcome to the Common Sense Investing Show, the home of plain-spoken, no-nonsense answers to your financial questions.
All right, welcome back to the show. Why don't you repeat the question? We just did about half of it there.
Yeah, we were talking about since Social Security is supposed to go broke in 2035, this is a question. Should I plan my retirement without using Social Security? And just before we went to break, Victor, you were talking about this fictitious account with trillions of dollars that's in place to pay Social Security. I just want to ask a question. Where is that account?
There is a $3 trillion Social Security trust fund.
There's
They said they were
some
gonna spend
politician
it.
tell you that?
Well, they're supposedly never going to spend it, then they spend it, and they keep spending it.
Yeah.
But now it's got $3 trillion. The problem is the interest it's earning is what's paying the difference, because the Social Security tax collected is about $73 billion short
Right.
of what current benefits are. Now, remember, more and more people are going to retire. Less are dying because people are living longer. And so it's going to be real bad. So the shortfall, it'll basically wipe out the entire $3 trillion trust fund by 2035.
Now, I heard, and this was years ago, and I may be off a little bit on the figure, but I heard that account was making something like 0.25%. Whatever rate it's earning, it is
Doesn't make much.
subpar.
And to let you know, the $3 trillion, remember, the interest on that is paying the difference between what they're collecting and paying out.
Right.
It will start dipping into principal in 2020, less than 2.5 years from now.
So 15 years it can hit principal and before going broke.
Yes.
20 to 35.
Yes. And so at that, the estimates are saying that they might be able to pay 77% of benefits. That's without cost of living adjustments, all that stuff. So that's what you've seen is everything that I've seen as far as how do we fix Social Security is either lowering benefits, means testing it. If you got a little bit of money, it doesn't matter how much you put in there. That's not your money anyway. That's government.
Right.
We're not going to pay you back because we're going to means test it. If you already got income coming, we might not pay you Social Security.
And again, we're being real hard on Social Security, obviously, because we all plan on it and we see how much we're going to make, and we go to SSA.gov and do all this planning. But keep in mind, for the amount of money that we actually put in,
it's a huge deal.
and the dollars we get back, it really pays us a lot more.
You're putting a few $100,000. I don't care how much you made. You put in a few $100,000 of your lifetime, and you're going to be getting, $3,000 a month, 36,000, and you only put in a couple $100,000. It's not as much you think. You can actually look on your statement and see how much you've actually put in.
That's right.
So the payout is generous. Still.
Yeah, still. I contributed.
That's right.
I was promised.
I contributed the max.
That's right.
For forever. And so you know what I mean? I put the most in, I'm going to get the least out. Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like.
That's how that works.
I haven't seen one. I already get that upper income earners only get 1/5 of the benefit of lower income earners for the same dollar put into Social Security. So it already is like that, but they're going to make it worse, a lot worse. So the original question before I got all in this, right?
Yep.
Was, should you plan without Social Security?
Yes.
If you can, yes.
Absolutely.
But most people can't.
And that could be gravy.
And so maybe you take the benefit that you're expecting and reduce it some.
And the fact that
to make sure
that if you're not in a position to plan without Social Security, even if it's mean tested, then probably you'll be in a better position to get your Social Security.
Right. Remember that 77% of benefits, that's all it is now? That's not assuming it going up at all.
Right.
Because remember, in that we have a $3 trillion
no COLA, nothing.
fund right now. That's a zero fund. There's no room for error with a zero fund. Interest won't do it, so they're going to have to increase the payroll tax a whole lot just to keep that 77% of your benefits.
We're losing listeners.
This doesn't sound good, right?
No,
but those are the facts. And when you're doing retirement, remember our plan is our retirement plans that we do in Retirement Analyzer is very detailed. It shows the taxation on your RMDs. It shows you there's a certain amount of income that's 50% taxable for Social Security. There's a certain amount that's 85% taxable.
Year by year.
There's phantom income in there, all kinds of things. Our program does all that.
And I would like to add into this, Victor and I have done several analysis here lately for people who are in high income or a high tax bracket now while they're working, and they're going to be in a high tax bracket when they retire. Now, you've heard us answer questions from you in the past about whether I should convert my IRA to a Roth, and the general answer, the biggest deal is if you're in a if you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, then it doesn't make sense to convert it. So you're going to put yourself in the biggest tax bracket now. However, if you're going to be in the high tax bracket when you retire, you would be surprised the difference it makes to go ahead and convert. Where I'm going with this, if you think you're going to be in the highest tax bracket when you retire, give us a call, because I'll give you an example. If you have $1 million in your retirement account and you convert it from an IRA or a 401k to a Roth, You can keep that number at $1 million if you can pay the $400,000 if you have that available in non-qualified money. So now you have the same amount, $1 million, but now it's all tax-free income for you. And we talked about slowing your spend-down rate and planning for retirement. The difference that makes for you income-wise throughout your retirement is huge.
Plus, it lowers your taxes on top. You get tax-free on this income, right?
Yep.
But also,
Well, that's why you were talking about the analyzer
portfolio.
showing each year. Did
right.
I lose them in the numbers there?
Right. You get less, you get more income because it's more of it's tax-free.
Your taxes are
But it
lower.
lowers the taxes on everything else too.
That's right.
You have to make. Remember, all we do is try to make your portfolio more efficient. Remember, it won the Nobel Prize for economics. It's not what investments you have; it's how they're allocated.
And how they work together.
How much did you have
That's
in
right.
large cap? How much did you have in bonds? How much did you have in fixed annuities? Whatever that is, that accounts for over 90% of your return long term. Short term, obviously, if you got a stock that goes crazy, if you bought Google or something when it first came out, you made a lot.
If you're going to be in a higher tax bracket when you retire, call us. There's some neat things that will be very effective you can do.
That's right. Our number 972-715-2424. Or you can go to ilovemyretirement.com. You can always email us as well. The email's on our website, but there's, I think, an info at McClure Capital. And also, if you haven't been on our website in a while, there's a lot of good videos on there, and the resources page, they update all kinds of new white papers regarding retirement and financial planning and things. I think you'll really like it. It's McClureCapital.com or ilovemyretirement.com. Stay with us, folks. We've got a break coming up. You're listening to the Common Sense Investing Show on News Radio 1080, KRLD.
Welcome back to the Common Sense Investing Show, hosted by two of the most experienced advisors in the DFW Metroplex, Victor McClure and Guy Allard.
Welcome back to the show. We're in the middle of answering your questions today. We talked about trust. We talked about Social Security and the problem it's going to have and what something's got to happen with it. So counting on it in your retirement plan, if you can do without that, fantastic. If you can't, you might want to reduce it some just because the mathematics of Social Security don't look so good. If you really want to depress yourself, look at the mathematics of Medicare. It's way worse. You can fix Social Security by lowering benefits 20% or whatever,
Right.
Adding another 1% increase in the age. It looks terrible with Medicare. It looks like, oh my gosh, they could double the amount of taxes that are withheld. Still wouldn't fix it. They wouldn't even come close.
And we should have a single payer on top of that. We've done such a good job with the vets and everything else that we've tried to have the government run.
Government runs things great, don't they?
You want another question?
Don't. We're going to get hate mail, don't we?
Don't do it.
What's
All
our
right.
next question?
Next question is, how safe are municipal bonds?
Well, generally speaking, I'm a municipal principal, which is, a Series 53. I can't remember now. But basically, I've been done municipals for a long time. I'm an expert on municipal bonds. I like municipal bonds. For those of you who don't know what they are, when a municipality wants to build something, they do a bond, right? And it's tax-free. If we had a state tax, you'd still pay state tax on a municipal bond. You won't pay federal tax.
Federal taxes.
It's the same thing it's the opposite of a U.S. government bond. U.S. government bond, you pay federal tax, but you don't pay state tax. We happen not to have state tax in Texas, so you don't pay anything. It's tax-free, so that's why they're attractive.
Which is deceptive in itself, is it not?
Oh, yeah. It really depends on what type of municipal you're talking about, right? You've got general obligation.
Revenue.
And that's general obligation is the full taxing authority of a municipality. They get in trouble, they can raise taxes or whatever, right? Those are more safe. And you got revenue. I'm going to build this Frisco high school stadium. I know it's a star, but and if it pays off, you get paid back. If it doesn't, you don't.
That's right.
And they've done it. You think they always do, but there's been bridges and sports complexes that really didn't pay off, and people had issues there. Remember Orange County? Right now, what you're from Chicago, whatever. What was the?
Oh, my mom got mad at me for us hammering Chicago last week. And what do? You do it again. I was biting my tongue. Yes.
I think they're paying like 8% on them. Right?
Oh, you can get 8% on your money.
Now, some people
Illinois.
might consider that an opportunity. Oh my gosh, I get 8% tax free. Remember, it's just like your uncle with bad credit.
Yeah.
Why would you pay 6 when the going rate's 2? they're paying so much more because they have to, because nobody would touch that crap. You got to be careful. You know, anytime somebody's going crazy, Puerto Rico bonds are pretty good right now. Right? You can always get good on Puerto Rico bonds. Why? Because their economy. What happens is young Puerto Ricans move back to the United States because they're a territory. You know, they use the U.S. dollar. It's just they're trying to be a state.
You think Venezuela could offer some bonds?
Yeah, they probably do. So you got to stay away from stuff. But municipals in general have been pretty safe. The only problem is we've been in a lowering interest rate environment for the last 30 years. And so in that case, they could always refinance debt. They got some bad debt. They can't afford, $10 million a year in interest payments. Refinance it, you can get $8 million in interest payments.
Yep.
You can't do that in rising interest rates like we have now. We're starting to go back up. And so there are some issues. Stick with your general obligation. If you can stick with municipalities that are like AAA rated or A+ rated on their own, a lot of them aren't. They have a bad rating, but they bought an insurance policy. And the insurance company is higher rated, so now, therefore, the bond is higher rated because it's insured. The only problem is when we had all these issues back in 2008, 2009, 2 or 3 of the insurance companies almost went under.
Yeah.
That were insuring municipals.
And I would reiterate, this is a good point. If you're doing federal or municipals because of the tax-free aspect, make sure, kind of like a conversion of an IRA to a Roth, make sure you're in the highest tax bracket because that maximizes that tax-free status. If you're like most people and you're in the 20 or 25%, yes, you save a little bit, but you're not really maximizing the fact that it's a tax-free instrument.
You got some people that have to have tax-free when they're really only on a 5% tax bracket or something.
And
remember, they're retired now. They don't have any income coming in. You don't need tax-free. You're better off getting the taxable because you can get more than 10% more return.
Make up the return.
Right? And what you always look at is what's your after-tax return. Not just, of course, tax-free sounds better than taxable.
And then you can get these taxables, and there is what's AMT, alternative minimum tax.
That's right.
You got to be careful you don't get one of those because you can think you're doing this great thing to save taxes, and wham, they hit you with the
Think
AMT.
about it. You buy DFW airport bonds.
Right.
The runway, you can't have an airport without a runway. That's an essential. That's non-AMT.
Right.
AMT is alternative minimum tax.
Right.
And so what the snack bar inside the deal is, that's not necessary for an airport, right?
Right. Not essential.
That's non-essential, which is subject to the AMT. So you bought these bonds, you accepted a lower yield to get it tax-free, and you pay taxes anyway.
That's right.
And so you got to be careful with AMT bonds. Remember, we've got that family love letter that, my brother passed away and his kids didn't get anything because they didn't know where things were. One of the Dylan Gage people died years ago. It took us 2.5 years to find out just where the stuff was. We have prepared a booklet that puts all that together to protect your loved ones if something happens to you, if you get incapacitated or you pass away. Don't hesitate to call us. We'd be more than happy to send you a copy. 972-715-2424. Again, 972-715-2424. You can always go to our website, ilovemyretirement.com. or McClureCapital.com. I'm Victor McClure for Guy Allert. We always, always appreciate your time.
The preceding show is paid for by McClure Capital and is for informational purposes only and not a solicitation or representation of any particular investment, product, or service. Any views and opinions do not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult with your appropriate professionals before making any investment or savings decisions. Always consider your risk tolerance, time horizon, and objectives in making any financial decisions. There is never any guarantee of future success or performance.
The preceding was a paid commercial program paid for by McClure Capital Wealth Management Companies and does not reflect the opinions or advice of KRLD or CBS Radio.